What's a song by your favorite artist that should have been a hit? And what's a song by your favorite artist that shouldn't have been a hit? We're going to discuss that very question for a number of artists today on the Pop Pod. I am Sam, also known as Pop Sam Cam, and thank you for joining me for another week of the Pop Pod. We have plenty to discuss on this episode, including news from Charli XCX, Lola Young. We're going to talk about Lorde's ribs as well. So much to get into. Before we do, if you like what you're hearing, I would love it if you would subscribe to this podcast so you can join us for many more episodes. You can do that wherever you're listening to the podcast, whether it be Spotify, YouTube. Hit subscribe. And if you want to talk about pop music with more like-minded people, my Discord is where you can come and talk about pop all week long until your heart is content. I will drop the link for that in the show notes below, but let's get started with today's episode. So Charli XCX is pushing ahead with Party For You as a single. It's hovering around the top 20 of the US Spotify charts, and it's also in the top 50 of the global Spotify charts. And it seems like she is going to continue pushing that because it seems she's teasing a music video, and the song will also be sent to US radio this week, which basically confirms that Party For You is the next single from Charli XCX. This is obviously crazy. It's from an album, How I'm Feeling Now, that is 5 years old, and it comes off the back of the whole Brat movement, which gave her plenty of hits, but Party For You is looking like it could be one of the biggest Charli hits to date. Let me know in the comments of the podcast or on YouTube whether Party For You is a favorite of yours by Charli. Lola Young, who also has had a big hit this year with Messy, is following that up with One Thing on Friday. This is the first song she's released since Messy became a huge hit for her, and it's sounding pretty good to me. Have a listen to the snippet.
Break your bed and then the sofa. I wanna pull you close. Everybody wants to know you, but me, I only want.
Supernatural by Ariana Grande has re-entered the global Spotify charts as it goes viral on TikTok, showing that it could actually be the next single from Eternal Sunshine. I felt like Ariana Grande was done with the Eternal Sunshine era after the deluxe album was released, but Supernatural starting to do well might push her hand back into the Eternal Sunshine era, and she may need to reconsider whether Supernatural needs to be a single. I mean, this kind of generated what I'm going to do later in the podcast, where I'm going to think about songs that should be hits and could be hits, because I've always felt like Supernatural was one of Ariana Grande's most obvious hits and couldn't believe that it wasn't chosen as a single initially. And the popularity of it right now is justifying just that. Speaking of songs that should have been singles, Lorde's Ribs has re-entered the global Spotify charts, coming in with just over 1 million streams at number 165. This comes off the back of the news last week that it had re-entered the Billboard Hot 100, so it's definitely all happening for Ribs right now. And it might be this weird kind of situation where Lorde is trying to promote Virgin, her forthcoming album, out in June, while Ribs is burning up the charts. It looks like it could be that way. I wouldn't be surprised if Ribs overtakes What Was That very soon, so we will keep an eye on that song from her debut album, Pure Heroine. The final piece of news that I want to share with you today is that a bar song, Tipsy by Shaboozey, is now officially the longest running top 5 hit in Hot 100 history on Billboard, now spending 44 weeks in the top 5. It was obviously the longest running number 1 of all time, and now it claims this record as well. This song just continues to go so hard, and I don't know how people are still listening to it at this stage. I was definitely finishing up with it within maybe 3-4 months of it first coming out, but it seems that people are still loving it, so good for Shaboozey breaking that record. Let's head into the main part of the podcast today, where I want to talk about different artists, and the categories that I'm going to use to do it is I'm going to tell you what I think a song of theirs that shouldn't have been a hit is, a song that should have been a hit, and then a song that still could be a hit. So I'm basically going to be first talking about the songs that were big hits for the artist that I feel like shouldn't have really made it to that point, and then follow it up with the song that I feel like should have gotten those kind of accolades, follow it up with a song that I still feel in the future could be a hit. I've got 6 artists that I want to talk through today. The artists are all kind of in cycle right now, so I thought it would be relevant. I've got Miley Cyrus, Beyonce, The Weeknd, Scizor, Lana Del Rey, and Lady Gaga. I want to start with Lady Gaga as the first one because she is obviously somebody who's having a lot of her new songs re-emerge right now as a new generation is discovering her. Most of the hits that are popping back up are songs that have already been a big hit, apart from Judas, which is kind of was a mild hit when it was released as the second single for Born This Way, but is having a much bigger resurgence right now. So let's start with the song that's a hit that I don't think should have been a hit, and that is Stupid Love off Chromatica.
I want your stupid love, love.
I've personally never been a fan of this song. I feel like it's the most kind of watered down, sanded down version of Ariana Grande's pop work. And I kind of feel that way about Chromatica in general. As much as I enjoy that record, I do feel like it misses some of that grunt that Lady Gaga has in her other work. And I certainly think that Stupid Love is indicative of that. It just really has never done anything for me. I think the melody and the verse is pretty pleasing. I think that the chorus is a little bit grating. It ended up in the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100. I think it debuted around number 8. And it wasn't a huge hit for her, but it was definitely a hit. It was eclipsed by Rain on Me, which came after, which I think is the far superior song. Let's now go with the song that should have been a hit, and I'm going with Scizor off Born This Way.
I wish that I could dance on a single bed. I wish I could be strong with somebody there.
This is one of the more bizarre Lady Gaga songs that she's ever written. It obviously kind of uses German in this weird kind of like way where she don't speak German, but she can if you like. And then takes that and just expands it into this incredibly euphoric chorus, one of the most euphoric of her career. She's kind of revived Scizor for the current Mayhem shows. She played it at Coachella when I saw her. And I really feel like this is one of the most obvious hits on Born This Way that has never had its moment. If I had to answer this question a couple years ago, I would have said Bloody Mary, but obviously that has had its time now. So for now, I'm going to go with Scizor for that question. The final one is a song that I feel like still could be a hit from her, but isn't a hit just yet. And I think the pretty obvious answer is to go with something from her new album, Mayhem. And so I'm going to go with Vanish Into You.
Saw your face in mine, in a picture by our website.
This is not the answer that I would have had when the album came out. In fact, it's still not one of my favorites on the album, but seeing the way that she connects with fans when she plays this song live makes me think that it could really have a moment. And I also think it's not so weird and jagged that it's going to ostracize some of her like periphery fans and some of her older fans, the sort of fans that are eating up Die With A Smile right now. Because when you take away the production to this song, the melody is quite kind of straightforward and quite traditional. And I feel like that's where she could have a hit, where Abracadabra and Disease have been quite hard hitting and quite gritty. This one's a little bit smoother, and that's why I feel like Vanish Into You could be a single and a hit for Lady Gaga. Next artist I want to do is Miley Cyrus, obviously rolling out her new album, Something Beautiful. She's had End of the World and More to Lose as the singles from that at the moment. Let's talk about the hit that shouldn't have been a hit, and for me, that is Malibu off Younger Now.
But here I am, next to you. The sky is more blue in Malibu.
Similarly to what I said about Lady Gaga, this just feels like it has no edges for me. Totally sanded down. I hated the way that Miley Cyrus was speaking about her music during this period, particularly the way that she was talking about hip hop music just after she'd had these whole eras with Mike Will Made It, who's a prolific hip hop producer. And she went with this sort of country pop sound this just doesn't even do country pop in a pleasing way for me. It doesn't even have the personality of like a Shania Twain song or something like that. It just feels completely mindless, and I have just never been a Malibu fan. So that is my answer for that. The song that should have been a hit, Violet Chemistry off Endless Summer Vacation. I was not a huge fan of this record in general, but I loved Violet Chemistry.
Stay a while with me.
Loved how she teamed back up with Mike Will Made It. I really enjoy that kind of glitchy, shuffling beat. I love the way that she sings in it in her lower register before she takes it up an octave in the final chorus. I like how it's kind of subtle in the way that the melody expands. And I also really like her when she's in this kind of like neon lit driving mood. And it's like, it's car music in the same way that some of the like back end tracks off Bangers were, or even like Lighter off Dead Pets. And I love that vibe that she conjures with Mike Will Made It. I think it was the most interesting song off that record, and I would have loved to see it as a single, but alas, it was not. The song that could still be a hit from her, I think right now, I would have to say More to Lose.
I'll stay when the ecstasy is far away, and I pray that it's coming around again.
She's had so much success with ballads in the past, particularly with songs like Wrecking Ball, and also I guess Used to Be Young was a pretty big hit off Endless Summer Vacation as well. The Climb, of course. More to Lose is kind of in that vein, and the melody of it is very traditional. As she said, it's kind of, she views it as her I Will Always Love You, which is pretty huge boots to step into. But I do agree that it has this kind of standard classic vibe to it. But then the production takes it somewhere else. I think that it's really beautiful and expansive. And I also love the way that her voice is maturing and how it sounds on this song. I would really love to see More to Lose be a hit for Miley. Let's move on to her two most wanted collaborator, Beyonce. The hit that I feel like Beyonce shouldn't have had a hit with, and I feel like this could be a little controversial because it is one of her biggest hits, is Halo.
Baby, I can see your halo. You know you're my saving grace.
I don't like Beyonce in this kind of like sort of inspiring ballad mode that she slipped into a lot like early in her career. We obviously got it with Halo. We got it with a song off 4, like I Was Here. We got it kind of with Listen, which I think is much more successful, I will say. But Halo for me, it's just like, I don't know, it's just so extra cheesy. And obviously she kills that vocal. But Beyonce can do so much more interesting stuff. And I think at the time, Ryan Tedder was working with so many different people and the beats were starting to sound quite similar. And you literally hear it on Kelly Clarkson's Already Gone that comes out after this, that it's so similar to Halo. And I just don't think it's interesting. It's not boundary pushing like Beyonce's other work. I mean, I'm personally not a huge Single Ladies fan either off this same record, I Am Sasha Fierce, but at least I can appreciate that it was doing something different, and the video for it was incredible as well. Halo is just like her most middle of the road song, and I think it's one of the only Beyonce hits that I really don't resonate with at all. The song that should have been a hit for Beyonce, Bodyguard off Cowboy Carter.
They couldn't have me, and they never will. And sometimes I hold you closer just to know you're real.
This had Song of the Summer written all over it in the same way that Cuff It did when Renaissance was released. You knew that Cuff It was eventually going to take off, and she gave it kind of the singles treatment and gave it a push, but she just didn't give that to Bodyguard. And it's confusing because I think even on the tour right now, you're seeing that Bodyguard is one of the most well-received songs. It's just so slick. It's like got that 70s rock and roll summer, like dripping with sunshine feeling. The way she sings it and just sits back in the beat is so cool. The Ryan Beatty lyrics on it, like sometimes I hold you closer just to feel you're near. It's like one of her best songs. And I would have absolutely loved to see Bodyguard be a hit. I mean, I guess there's still a chance, but if she's not doing it now when she's on tour and we've got summer coming up, it's never going to happen. Justice for Bodyguard. The song, though, that I feel like still could be a hit, is Two Most Wanted with Miley.
I'll be your shotgun rider till the day I die. Smoke out the window flying down the 405.
I mean, this song was kind of rolled out as the next single from Cowboy Carter, and kind of, I mean, maybe it was sent to radio and that's about it. It's now a Grammy winner. Obviously, Miley Cyrus is huge and is like also in an era at the moment. And I just feel like this song could kind of have a TikTok moment. It's like about friendship and sharing like those moments with your friend, being like on the run, you know, that sort of like Thelma and Louise energy. And it really brings that to this song. And I feel like it could have a moment on TikTok, but it's still waiting to be seen. I mean, interestingly, not a lot of Beyonce songs. I think Diva is having a bit of a moment right now, but not a lot of old Beyonce songs come back into the forefront, because I think she keeps it pushing so often with her new music, and her old music just always feels like so far behind like what she's up to at that point. But I would love to see Two Most Wanted have its moment, and I think it has the most hit potential off Cowboy Carter. Next artist is The Weeknd. The Weeknd's had an interesting couple years off the back of Blinding Lights. I think nothing has quite hit like Blinding Lights, but to say that he doesn't have huge hits, I think is kind of silly, because he has had like these sporadic hits here and there that have actually been kind of huge. One of the girls, whatever the song from The Idol was with Jenny, that has gone on to do massive numbers for him. Timeless off Hurry Up Tomorrow is actually becoming quite a huge hit for him now as well. But let's get into the rundown. I think the bad hit from him is Die For You off Starboy.
Even though we're going through it and it makes you feel alone, just know that I would die for you.
Starboy is an album in general that I think is pretty weak from The Weeknd. Like, sonically, it's not inventive enough for me, and I think it relied too much of that on that kind of neon drenched like Daft Punk sound. And Die For You doesn't do that necessarily, but it's got this like, I don't know I guess it's like an almost 60s sort of like Motown feel to the balladry of it, but it's mixed with like modern production as well. And it just doesn't really work for me. It feels like too wedding song-esque from him. It doesn't have any rawness, any edge, which is where I really like The Weeknd, where he's pushing the boundaries a little bit to find that really sweet center, and it just never quite gets there for me. Even the remix with Ariana Grande, I just don't really like. And I know that this wasn't a hit when the record came out, and it took years for Die For You to have its moment, which is usually proof that it always should have been a single. But for this one, it's just never done it for me. So it's Die For You on that. Should have been a hit, Less Than Zero off Dawn FM.
'Cause I can't get it out of my head. No, I can't shake this feeling that crawls in right there.
This song is pure perfection. You know, when Max Martin and The Weeknd hit the sweet spot, it just like feels like honey, and it happens on like Blinding Lights, Save Your Tears, In Your Eyes, and I would add Less Than Zero to that. It is just such an expert pop song, so much so that it never really feels like it needs to do anything drastic to lift to another level. There's that like arpeggio synth that goes into the chorus that I think is really effective and takes it somewhere else, obviously, but for the most part, the lift is very subtle, and I just think it is such a beautiful and such an emotional song as well. I absolutely love Less Than Zero. Song that could still be a hit, Open Hearts.
Where do I start when I open my heart? It's never easy falling in love again.
This is off the new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow. I believe that it is probably the most radio-friendly song on the entire album. I actually don't know why it wasn't the first single. The song that they went with, Dancing in the Shadows, didn't even make the album in the end. This has a Dancing in the Shadows vibe, but it's got much more weight to it. It feels like it has a real punch, and it kind of shakes the headphones when you listen to it. But then it also has that really trademark sweet, the Weekend chorus, which I really like as well. I think that Open Hearts has major potential for him. And as this film comes out, who knows what kind of moment it's going to be given in the film. But I think if he gets it right, this could potentially be one of the big hits from this era for him. Let's move on to Scizor, who is an artist that I actually saw on Friday night at MetLife Stadium with Kendrick Lamar in her stadium era, absolutely killing it. Scizor is a superstar in every single way, and I don't think she gets her props enough for how she is able to sort of like magnetize her personality and her persona to fit a stage as large as a stadium. I really enjoyed it, but first let's get into the negative. The hit that shouldn't have been a hit, The Other Side with Justin Timberlake. I think this was for the Trolls movie. It wasn't a huge hit, but it was a mild hit. It's kind of this like light disco track, and it's just sort of lame. Like everything that Justin Timberlake's done for the Trolls soundtrack, it's really just like Target aisle walking music. It doesn't do anything for me. I think in the video, Scizor kind of steps into this superstar persona that she's been able to carry through now into her own records, but apart from that, the vocals from both of them are not that inspiring. The song is pretty poorly written as far as I'm concerned, pretty straight down the line, middle of the road stuff from them. So that is the hit that shouldn't have been a hit for me. The hit that should have been a hit though, Low. Off SOS. I know that she had so much choice for songs that could be hits from this record, and I think the ones that were hits were kind of like light in a way. Like they had this airiness to them. Snooze and Kill Bill, even though Kill Bill's lyrical content is quite dark, the track still feels quite laid back. And then Nobody Gets Me as well, obviously with the acoustic guitars, is quite beautiful. But Low has this darkness to it and this kind of like hip hop influenced kind of heaviness to the beats that hit. And I love the way that her like melody just kind of trails off and you never really know where it's going. It almost feels like she's improvising. And I think that that's really cool from her. But also, as much as it is unexpected, the hook just lodges in your brain. And this one just swirled my brain for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I really think that given the proper single treatment, this could have been a massive song for her and could have hit on so many levels, like pop radio, urban radio. I think that it ticks all the boxes and really could have been a major moment for Scizor. The song that could still be a hit though, Scorsese Baby Daddy. She performs this one during the tour right before F2F. It's kind of got this rock flair to it, which I think would be different for her for a single from her. Particularly, I've been looking at the streams on Spotify and it's one of the better performing songs off Lana. And I just think that it has such a cool vibe to it. And I know that that's kind of a lazy way to explain a song, but there's just something that's so effortless about the way she sings this. And yet, while it is effortless, there's this real anger to it as well. There's real angst that really fits with those guitars that she sings over to. I think that it's a really, really cool hit. Sorry to use that word cool again, but I'll just keep using it because it is an extremely cool song from Scizor. I feel like Scorsese Baby Daddy, if any song's going to have a moment off Lana now after BMF, it's going to be this one. Let's round it out with Lana Del Rey, who's obviously in cycle right now, rolling out her new album, which could be called anything from Lasso to The Right Person Will Stay, and could come this year or could come in 5 years. Who knows? But the bad hit from her is Summertime Sadness for me.
Kiss me hard before you go. Summertime sadness.
This obviously became a hit because of the Cedric Gervais remix, which is one that I really can't stand. I hate that Lana's first like major hit in the US was an EDM song because that's obviously worlds away from what Lana actually does. But at the same time, I've just always felt like Summertime Sadness is one of the more like unimpressive songs off Born to Die. I think that it's the most character driven one. It's got the most kind of cliches in it. And to me, when I listen to it, it doesn't even feel like it's part of the Lana universe anymore because it's been taken so many different places and it just feels so far away from her. It's just been one that I've never really resonated with. And so that would be my answer for this one. The hit that should have been a hit. I can't call it a hit, sorry. The song that should have been a hit. The greatest.
Culture is waiting ahead of more. I guess I'm signing off after all.
I mean, if you've listened to this podcast since the beginning, you've probably heard me talk about the greatest before. I think that this song is like unbelievably excellent and probably her best song in her discography. I love that a year before COVID, she basically predicts exactly what's going to happen in that year, like the loneliness, the fires, Kanye West, Blonde and Gone, like talking through the iPad kind of thing, the live stream. It's just all in there. It's incredibly vivid. And I also think that the chorus has the most like gravity than anything she's ever written. It feels like the kind of song that you would write if you were going to retire and never make music again, kind of like a My Way sort of song, like a real swan song vibe. And I'm always surprised that this song hasn't been picked up later on down the track, like songs like Cinnamon Girl have off that record, to be TikTok hits because it's just so cinematic and I feel like it could soundtrack TikTok videos so well. Not that that's the be all and end all, but it kind of is the measure of a hit these days. So the greatest is it for me. I absolutely love that song. The song that still could be a hit from her, actually an unreleased song I'm going with. It's 57.5, the song that she performed at Stagecoach, which will presumably be on her new album.
Got 57.5 million listeners on Spotify. Roger Miller made him laugh. I guess some folks still like to cry.
Just lyrically, it's absolutely wild. I've got 57.5 million listeners on Spotify is the hook of the song. She talks about her secret to success, which basically ends up with her saying like, I have no idea how I got here. And then she ends it out by saying that she kissed Morgan Wallen. It is just totally bonkers what she's saying in this song. A real like word vomit stream of consciousness moment for her. But I have been seeing like videos be made for this on TikTok and I just feel like it has so much viral momentum to it that it could actually go on to be one of her biggest songs. And I love it because it really is a country song in terms, in the way that it really embraces the storytelling nature of country music and that really narrative-led songwriting. Absolutely love it from her. Think that 57.5 could be a hit. Definitely more so than Bluebird or Henry Come On. Those are my answers for these artists. I'll probably do another one of these. So if you want to see another artist covered in this, drop them in the comments or you can DM me on Instagram and let me know which one I should add to the next one of this. But I'm also interested to know what your answers for each of these artists will be. So drop them in the comments down below as well. Before we round this out, I just want to talk about a record that's really impressed me in the last week, and that is Pink Pantheress's mixtape Fancy That.
My name is Pink and I'm really glad to meet you. You're recommended to me by some people.
I have always been a Pink Pantheress fan. I've followed her basically since the beginning, and in the beginning I wondered how she was going to extend her artistry and extend her sound because it was so internety and so trendy, so of the time. Obviously these were like songs, some of them like a minute and a half, 2 minutes, that were going off on TikTok. And then when she popped off with Boy's a Liar, I was like, this could either be really good for her or it could be the one-hit wonder Kiss of Death, and it could be it for her because it was a sound that I was struggling to see how she would add more to. And then with the last record, Heaven Knows, she surprised me again and I felt like it was a really mature record. And then she's totally surprised me once again with Fancy That, which is her best production to date. If you don't know, like there's other producers on here like The Dare, but for the most part, I think that Pink Pantheress really leads this vision and has become such a phenomenal producer. This thing is stitched together so tightly that you almost don't know when it's going from song to song. You can listen to it like it is a DJ mix. It's only 20 minutes long. It's incredibly short and sharp. It's incredibly charismatic. She literally starts the EP, the mixtape, by saying, "My name is Pink and it's really nice to meet you." And from there, you just feel like you're right in this world with her, this world that she's created where it feels like you're taking off in a rocket with her and somehow time traveling back to like the UK in 2005. And that's definitely the references that she pulls into it, because she samples things like Basement Jaxx Good Luck on a song like Romeo, which closes it out.
My Romeo, everybody loves when I told them so. I feel like it's magic, Romeo. You're all I can imagine.
She samples a William Orbit song with the Sugar Babes from a lost kind of William Orbit record that came out around the mid 2000s as well. That is on a song called Nice to Know You.
I know this is a vibe for a Friday night, but there's something in my brain and I want to make sure I'm saying it right.
Which I think is probably the best song on the EP, just so luscious and emotive at the same time. And then she also has a lot of fun with this. I think Tonight is one of the most straightforward club bangers that she's ever written. I really like the way that she speaks throughout this and the way that there's dialogue at certain points. It really makes you feel like you're in the story. I just think it's a really clever, engaging mixtape that takes her artistry to another level and shows me that there's so much more to the sonic world of Pink Pantheress. And I have just been having this thing on repeat, so I wanted to throw it your way in case you haven't listened to it yet. You should definitely listen to it. This week I'm doing a thing where I'm listening to one new album at least by a new artist every day, and I'll be documenting that on my Instagram stories. Today, well, yesterday, by the time you listen to this, I will have listened to an album by Sailor. It's a new Floridian artist who is getting a lot of attention. I'm going to have a listen to that. Join me on Thursday. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, of course, join us on Fridays for Bop or Flop as per usual. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you haven't already. And also, I would love it if you could rate this podcast 5 stars. It really helps with our visibility on the streaming platforms for this podcast. Come and join the Discord if you want to speak further. Otherwise, I will see you on Thursday. Thank you for joining me.